Dom here from Essential RC, sharing a small restoration project that I've just completed. You will recall that I also did the Chris Gold's Concorde not too long ago. That took me a little while and that's ready to fly. Haven't had the opportunity to fly it because of lockdown and the weather. But looking forward to flying that for the first time. And just so happens I was very lucky to come by another Chris Gold's model. And here it is. It's a de Havilland DH 91ALBATROSS. The full-size DH91 was designed in 1936. At that time, as a transatlantic mail plane. It was interesting at the time because it was the first to have a pliable supply sandwich construction of its fuselage, and that was later used in the de Havilland Mosquito bomber. Another unique feature was a cooling system for the air-cooled engines that allowed nearly ideal streamlining of the engine mounting. The first Albatross flew on 20th of May 1937. The second prototype broke in two actually during overload tests, but was repaired with minor reinforcement. The first and second prototypes were operated by Imperial Airways. Although designed as a mail plane, a version to carry 22 passengers was developed, the main differences being extra windows and the replacement of split flaps with slotted flaps. 5 examples formed the production order, delivered in 1938. When war was declared, all 7 aircraft were operating from Bristol Whitchurch to Lisbon and Shannon. Chris Gold's obviously decided to model this Frobisher passenger variant, which was registered as G-AFDI and delivered to Imperial Airways, later BOAC, as Frobisher in 1938. Sadly, Frobisher was destroyed on the ground by a German air raid while parked at Whitchurch Airfield on 15th of February 1941. Okay, so some dimensions of this model start off with. It's 2.3 meters wingspan, 1.6 meters length. Powered by 4 brushless electric motors, obviously. Constructed from ply and balsa. And really nicely covered in, well, it's painted in the majority, but there is film on the wings. Let's remove the canopy like that, pinned at the front, and a couple of latches at the back, and you can see inside. So in the front here, 3-cell 3700 milliamp hour pack. There was a nickel metal hydride for powering the receiver back there, but I'm going to be using a 2 or 3 cell LiPo and powering that through this Jetty S-Spec. I've used these on a few models and they're fantastic for powering the receiver and servos. So you can see the construction inside. I love this stuff. It's he's put an immense amount of effort and thought into this beautiful model, and it's really nicely constructed. Genuine work of art. Fortunately, the wingtips do come off for easy transportation, so you can see here just pulls out like that with one connection for the ailerons. And no wing tube. He's used this laminated ply, it looks like, for the rigidity of the wing, slotting into those gaps there, into the ribs in the wing. So the wings are covered in film, and he's used the lettering. He's obviously cut by hand, and that's film as well. The horns are glass sheet, and he's really proper connections from the servo arm and clevises into the horn, which is really nice. So flip the model onto its back, onto a stand, and you can see that the scheme underneath is fantastic as well. So mostly painted, but with lettering cut out of film. and the elevators are actually film covered as well. The retracts air up, spring down, and they work really nicely. The servo for the flaps in a center position here, pushing a snake through to the split flaps on the left and the right side. And that servo was faulty, and it was actually a retract servo that only went from 0 to 180 degrees, nothing in between. So I replaced that with a proportional servo so that I can have flaps 1 and flaps 2 settings, and that works really well. Bit of a story with the servos in the tail. The high-tech servos that were in here were absolutely fine. Probably for 15-20 years this model's been stored away and they still worked fine, including the servo for the steerable tail wheel. But the ones in the rudder were these horrible Supertech servos, which were probably great at the time, but they didn't work or were faulty. So replaced those with some sub-micro servos from George at Formax. Thanks to him for that, and they work really well, slotted in nicely. But the one thing that took me the longest was I was pulling out the old Supertech servo that was in here, and I was pulling it out gently, but it's still disconnected from the servo extension lead that was running down here, and it was an absolute nightmare to connect that the new servo up to that extension. I actually had to feed in a servo extension all the way up the fuselage and round here. And if you've been aero modeling for a while, you will know what a pain it is to do that. I had to use a bit of weight on the end of some thread and thread it through here, through the formers and the ribs, and down here to pull that new lead servo extensions all the way through. Took me ages to do that, being very careful not to damage any of the internal structures, but got that done. Absolutely fantastic. So not really much restoration to do on this. Really, it was just a case of replacing a few servos. It was actually quite amazing what a great condition it was in. It had been stored away very carefully, actually, for the 15-20 years that it was in this container. So really looking forward to getting this in the air, and that will happen as soon as we're out of lockdown and we get a bit of better weather. But thanks for watching this little video on this new project that I've acquired, and look forward to sharing the next one.